All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode here of Spring into Football. This week, we have the three-fourths of the original crew, Diego, myself, and Raf. But this week, it's different because we do have a feature. Dom Twar, full name, or otherwise known as Defenders District. One of the best pages on Instagram and other platforms for all defenders coverage. And so we just thought we wanted to feature him. It's the last week before the season, so we thought it'd be a great time to get somebody on and kind of just get some final thoughts going into what is likely to be another great season. So Dom, it kind of just so happened that we scheduled this before something significant happened yesterday with Reggie Barlow parting ways with the organization. I know, but before we get into that, just kind of wanted to hear your story of how you kind of became a page and what have you kind of you know endured throughout the way, like as an Instagram page, whether it's like toxic fans or like an experience, different experiences, but just anything that like what kind of allowed you to be a Defenders fan and kind of your time on social media.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me.
Yep.
So again, hi, Defenders District here. Started following spring football back in 2019 with the AAF baby. Didn't have a team I was going to cheer for at the time, so I just decided to look at the jerseys. I'm like, Arizona Hotshots, that looks cool. And there was this guy named Rashad Ross, the receiver. I was a big fan of this dude, and I cheered for him for like 3 weeks before the league decided to collapse. So that was fun. But I'm like, that was a cool little 3 week, 4 week session. So I just let it be, and then found out the XFL was coming back, and I'm like, you know what? Football. We love football. So why not we get invested again? And back then, having an Instagram page was the thing. It wasn't TikTok at that point. So I'm like, okay, spring football. There's probably not that big of a market for it yet in terms of fan pages. Let's make I don't know, a defenders page. I chose the Defenders specifically because, for one, there's no teams in Ohio, so can't really go local. So my options were St. Louis or DC in terms of just what was close to me. And I went with DC because they had Cardell Jones, Ohio State QB, so there's already familiarity there. Rashad Ross, my favorite guy from the AAF, DC, uh, big Browns fan, and Scooby Wright, the linebacker, was with DC at the time too. Seventh round pick for the Browns, and just a lot of familiar names. And I love the color scheme too, so I'm like, all right, DC it is. And I think that was probably one of the best decisions I could have made because, I mean, y'all remember the Lemon game right at
Yeah.
halftime? All the
Yeah, I
fans
did
throwing it.
remember.
That did
That,
wonders for people wanting to follow the league, and it just I don't know chose the right when we hit 2023 and the league came back for a third time. Like I made a good decision following DC at that point.
Mhm. No, I was gonna say, when you talked about the lemon game, I feel like that the fans throwing the lemons shifted the whole game because the new T looked so scared.
Mm.
I don't know if people saw that, but he looked like Sam Darnold seeing Ghost right after that. Like that is exactly the best way I can sum it up.
No, it was hilarious because that was always a thing with the DC Defenders going back to I believe the 2.0 that they loved their beer snakes. So
Mhm.
the security said that they couldn't do the beer snake for the game of the season, but they decided to also give away these alcoholic drinks with halves of lemons in them. I don't know what they were expecting, so the field got lemoned, and then all of a sudden, right after that, Michael Joseph got the pick six. Started calling him Michael Lemon Joseph. We got that win, and honestly, we got the momentum from there. So
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also, with that being said, the lemon has really become a staple tradition and throughout the league. We talk about it a lot on the show how it's, every team has got something different that they do, but what really stands out is, what the Defenders do with their beer snakes and, really their whole fan base makes a name for themselves. So um, but yeah, that being said, we kind of got into it a little bit. Thanks for sharing your introduction there. I know it's been a long haul with spring football. This is possibly the first time we could see a successful model in this year and hopefully for many years to come. But so yesterday, news came out that Reggie Barlow, coach for the last 2 seasons. Okay, you guys didn't say anything. Okay, last 2 seasons is going to be parting ways with the organization. And this came out pretty suddenly, and we just didn't really have any background to the story. So I kind of wanted to kind of gauge your reaction of what was your reaction to that news, and what did you think for the team? Just a week before the season starting.
So not even talking from a defender standpoint, we're just talking from a personal standpoint. It's funny how small the world is. I'm a Bowling Green guy, so Eddie George just got signed from
Hmm.
Tennessee State to Bowling Green, and then I lose a coach in Barlow to the same college. So small world with that.
Yeah.
Uh, no, obviously the news kind of shocked me, kind of not. I mean, Barlow's a great coach. He's a great energy guy. I've always been a fan of him. I love how he interacts with the fan base in terms of on social media, and he has a winning record in the 2 seasons he was coach. Sure, last year was 4-6, but the season before that he went 10-2 with a coach of the year and all of that. He definitely he definitely deserved the opportunity, and I don't hold anything against him. I think he should have taken the opportunity, and I think his replacement Shannon Harris is going to be just as good, if not better.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Shannon Harris does have, I mean, all of these coaches have, pretty respectable backgrounds, and I think he'll still really help that team, do what they want to do because they have a great roster, and we'll talk about that a little bit later of who they have and who they cut it down to, but I think that they'll still produce a really good season. It's just about how much is it gonna how different is it gonna be from when they had Barlow. I think that's the
It's not going to be different at all. That's the thing. So Harris has had really close ties with Barlow since I think at least 2021, if not earlier. They were together. I think it was. I forget if I said Tennessee State before, but Virginia State. I believe that's where they were coaching before, both of them. And then Barlow went to DC, and then Harris followed Barlow and became the QB coach, and has been the QB coach the last 2 years. Uh, I can see it with especially the players, both former and current players with DC. They're very excited to see him as the head coach, and if him and Barlow are so connected already, I'm pretty sure they run a very similar scheme. So I don't think things are going to change up that drastic. It's not going to be the same as Abram Smith tearing an ACL and then having to change up your whole offense a week before the season starts. Which, by the way, that's now the second season in a row we've had a bombshell happen a week before the season
yeah.
starts. Got to catch a break.
Yeah. So Diego and Raf, what were your guys' general opinions on that yesterday?
I think, just all right. When the news broke, I was at work, so I look at my phone while I'm on break, and I'm like, wait, why is my Instagram blowing up? And I look, and I'm like, oh, that's why. I think just reading like the first headline of Barlow leaving for as a new head coach, I'm like, wow, a week right before the season. But I mean, I know a lot of people have said this in the community, and I have to agree somewhat, but it is in the end, the UFL is the league of opportunities. So I can understand, even though it is weird that he left right before the season begins, but I am interested to see what the Shannon Harris guy is going to be all about. I think that he has put a very promising resume so far, and I think that's why the DC Defenders decided to be best he be the head coach instead of guys like Craig Williams, who honestly he could have been a good fit, but at the same time, I think it's probably best that he sticks with running the defense. So all in all, shocking move, but I can totally understand.
Yeah, no, ever since that week 1 game against Seattle, and when Teamu would throw 92 yards and they'd still win, and people would say Teamu is such a great quarterback, blah blah blah. I've been a DC Defenders hater, so I'm all for this I'm all for this. I'm all for this movement, so that's good. I think it's, and I mean it's not fair to the whole team or the rest of the league. In fact that he's leaving a week before the season starts. But I think this also might have been planned. I don't think that he just left them for like out of thin air. I'm pretty sure this was discussed and at some point in the past, because I know it's like a shock to everybody, but at some point in the past, this was probably discussed and
Yeah,
or not.
because
I don't know.
usually, a lot of those things, don't really come out, until it officially happens. So, I think it, also might have been one of those things that was discussed throughout the, the final stages of the off season here, and I know, the players are still gonna, be bought in for sure. Shannon Harris will still. Run a fantastic program over there, and they'll still do good things on the field. So um,
Now, I was gonna say, imagine this. Imagine if the Instagram page for the DC Defenders, like Instagram, like the DC Defenders themselves, posted this saying, "Yeah, Reggie Barlow's gone." Imagine how much worse that would have been if instead of like XFL analyst or uh,
oh
like
yeah,
whoever else. Imagine,
Watson.
imagine if they said, "Yeah, we don't know where our coach is at. He just left."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been a problem. That definitely would
That
have
would have
been.
been that would have been hilarious. That would have been generational.
Uh,
yeah. So that being said, we can go ahead and get into our topics list. So we talked about Reggie Barlow, which I did see by the way. I don't know how much you guys will take it into consideration, but Naya memes, part of the group chat, said
And
that
AIA memes, bro.
no, okay. TSU doesn't have the best facilities, and that they're they're a little bit under. They have some circumstances themselves that they need to figure out. So I mean, you see Reggie Barlow going over there. What is it going to look like for him? I mean, we'll have to find out, but that's just something to think about. We don't have to talk much about it, but that's just something to ponder about throughout the season. So, just in case you see anything else on him. So, but yeah, we can go ahead and get into our bread and butter here, just with the topics that we have listed out for this week. So, as you know, we just got down the roster cut downs for every team, and every team I believe is running a 50-man roster now for the season, and I think there were some notable final cuts. Nothing, I wouldn't say nothing that really stood out beyond belief, but I think that there was still some players that are worth discussing here. You have Andy Isabella of the St. Louis Battlehawks. You have Lynn Bowden of the DC Defenders. We'll get Dom's take on that possibly. And then you have TJ Pledger, Jawan Manigo, Joseph Ngata of the Birmingham Stallions, and then Keontae Shad of the Michigan Panthers. So these are just some names that we thought stood out. If you guys want to, kind of discuss any in further detail, feel free. I know, we saw who's going to be on the roster this season. I think that we're pretty content for the most part of, who these teams are going into the first week with. So I mean, if you think otherwise, then I'd love to hear it. So or if you don't think otherwise, maybe you just have an opinion on any of these guys, and maybe they'll get picked up by another team here before the season starts.
well, I do know that the number one name that I keep hearing is Lynn Bowden. Why? Why do we cut Bowden? Why do we cut Bowden? And I think what people got to realize is that just because a guy is a notable name doesn't mean he's the best fit. Obviously, I wasn't at the camp. I don't know how Bowden performed. I don't even know if he honestly showed up. I don't, because the camps are all in Texas and I'm up here in Ohio. So what are you gonna do?
I mean, he was available for media day, so I'm pretty sure he did show up. But
Yeah, yeah. I might
but
have missed
no,
it.
yeah, no, but no, because he was there. The thing is that you take, oh, why you cut this name, cut that name, like Andy Isabella, he was with the Cardinals and the Bills. Why would you cut him? It's like, bro, because you got like four other receivers who play just like him. He just got outperformed in camp. That's it. I mean, personally, I would have cut Kevin Hogan if I were the Brahmas, but
Going after
um,
former Browns too,
Oh
man.
yeah,
oh, former Brahmas.
you're
Oh,
firing on all cylinders here to Dom, man.
I know there's something from last season, but come on now.
Something
Yeah,
from last season.
yeah.
Bro, I'm not a Roughnecks fan. But that game still pissed me off though. I was watching that pissed me off.
But no,
That was pretty bad.
like Andy Isabella, those guys,
And
we cheer
Isabella.
for them because we want somebody that we recognize to then cheer for at the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not like these players are bad in any means either. It's just that there could
Mm-hmm.
have just been a scheme fit. There could have been somebody on the roster that's just like them, that's just slightly better or a better fit, right?
Yeah, no, the one that did surprise me was Denzel Mims making the Battlehawks roster.
Oh
That's the one
yeah.
that surprised me the most was Denzel Mims. I didn't I was just actually recently doing a fantasy draft and I'd seen that Denzel Mims was still available and I was like, wait. So I checked if he was available on the Battlehawks like roster. He made the roster and I was like, whoa. So that's one that surprises me.
Well, I think it goes to show that I mean, even though there were some players that were cut, that have been in the NFL before, we do still have a lot of those players, that have had notable stints, that are on teams and made the final roster. So we'll still be able to cheer for those players. But I mean, some of these guys, people have been following them around in college, and now not being able to see them, it's whatever. But you get to see still a lot of talent. No matter what your past with them is. But Diego, what were your thoughts on these final roster cutdowns?
Yeah, I would relate a lot to like some of the points that have already been made. Like a lot of these NFL guys, they may stand out on stats or maybe in college, but at the same time they might have just in time, maybe their quality might have gone down. They may have not have been as reliable or as athletic as some of the younger guys. But a name that kind of shocked me was PJ Pleasure because as we saw last season, he kind of took more into a running back one kind of role. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we really did see a lot with how Kirk Merritt did last season before he got hurt. So I'm not surprised that he got cut, considering that Merritt can do a lot more on the run and on the catch. Um, but I did see a few names about Joseph Nagata, but you have to remember too, and this can really be taken ever since we started as a team in 2022, that we've always had very solid receiver cores and just, it really comes down. I think Skip Holtz, he wants fast and just guys who can really make an impact. So I'm not too surprised that Nagata got cut. But it is nice to see guys like Kate Johnson make the roster. Now they get a chance to make their name seen. But I think another name that kind of shocked me was Latavius Simmons making the Stallions offensive line. And I'm a Bears fan, so I do remember his name very well of when we drafted him, and I wasn't high on him. I remember that one game he came in for a bit against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2021. He did not play well at all, so ever since then I haven't really thought highly of him, but I could be totally wrong. So I don't know if he's going to be a starter, probably not, but if it so comes down to where we have injuries and he comes in, he could prove me wrong. So um, but all in all, a lot of shocking names.
Yeah, I definitely think last year we saw a lot more notable names. I think now because we have a better pool of players, that we don't see as many as we did last year. There's better talent on these teams now, and so the names we saw weren't as numerous or as as prevalent as they are this year or as they were last year. Sorry, but I think that those are just some things that we'll keep in mind. Going into this season is how you look at their past
Another
impacts. Yeah, go ahead.
another thing that I wanted to add on is Memphis Showboats linebacker Zeke Vandenberg. I am currently a state at Illinois State University, so I have seen him play in person. I think it's really nice to see someone I know from my college that is playing in the UFL. Even though I am a Stallions fan, I hope that he has a great season. He can get some snaps, make his name known. Maybe he can get an NFL contract. So that's just something I want to add on really quick.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just UFL fans at the end of the day. Even if we cheer for our teams, we want all these guys to succeed. I mean, you
No,
got
everybody
names.
except Kevin Hogan. Everybody except Kevin Hogan.
It's
Okay,
always Kevin Hogan.
I would say on it, I hate him. I hate him. On his question, do you think Cameron Dancer will ever play football again?
Listen, man, that was also another tough one. I think. Well, he had an injury. Okay? Do you think he's really injured? Do you think? Let,
I mean, dude, he has too much problems. On and off the field, too many problems. I don't know. The one cut that did confuse me was David Davis until you find out that he's not medically cleared to play football. So
Yeah.
he'll be back with Memphis shortly. And then Delonte Hood was a head scratcher. I don't
oh
get that
yeah,
one.
Yeah.
Delonte was a huge head scratcher, and then
got
but
recently
then he
signed by the
recently
yeah.
signed in the CFL. Yep. And TJ
Yeah.
Pleasure, as you said, Pleasure was one. And CJ Windham was one player I did want to see succeed, considering he had a lot of success with the Vegas Nighthawks last year. Vegas Nighthawks in the IFL, of course, if you guys aren't aware.
Uh,
But Ty Fogel kind of hurt as well. That one was
I think
kind of sad. But
there was
yeah,
somebody from one of the arena leagues that got signed to the Defenders. It might have been today, yesterday.
yeah, there was an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Do you know who?
No, but no, I don't. Actually, I could give me a few seconds. But one that did surprise me with the DC was offensive tackle DJ Fluker. DJ Fluker is an incredible offensive lineman. I don't know who or why he had gotten cut, but he was just really phenomenal and played at a great level.
You
The
saw
only
his return. He was like his return was like very viral. He was like him like bulking up and
Mhm.
doing all those things off the field. But again, like we talk about league of opportunity, like sometimes these general managers want to know like what's going to be the best team that we can put out there. For guys to get film. DJ Fluker. Don't get me wrong, is a good player, but has a
Great
lot of
player.
that already. So might not be in the best interest for both the team
Mhm.
and himself to seek out that opportunity and play in spring football. So, but
Yeah, but DC had signed his replacement, Jahari Fright, who was supposed to play with the Fisher Fright in the indoor football league.
and I know Chidi Akiki from the Michigan Panthers also another cut, another name cut this past weekend. So that
Oh, you're
he
talking about Fazone McClurge? That hit Faz too, Faz McClurge as well. He also got cut. He was
oh yeah
the Tulsa Oilers with the Tulsa Oilers, and he's back in Tulsa though. He's back in Tulsa already.
yeah
It was
so
just for a camp stint.
Yeah, I mean, so there were a lot. I mean, the bottom line is that there were still a lot of notable players that were being cut. But I definitely feel that, because now this is our second year doing the podcast. I think last year we talked a lot more in detail about this, and this year we're kind of only mentioning a couple names and a lot fewer, I should add. So that's definitely good because it shows these teams have improved vastly, and I think they'll only hopefully next year if we're still doing this, I know we will be as long as the league stays afloat, that we'll even see lesser names than this. So, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just transition here into our next topic. So, before we get the game predictions for Raf and Diego, I want to hear Dom's, just so that we can have time to share respectively our screens of if you guys have that doc open. If not,
It
um,
is.
we'll let Dom. You guys can open it while Dom gives us his week one prediction. So
All right, all right. We'll go down the list then. First off, we got St. Louis at Houston. As much as I hate St. Louis, I can't see them losing it. They're going to start off on a hot streak. They're going to take out Houston. I'm going to say by at least 2 touchdowns. It's going to be it's going to be a walloping. Just week one, Houston's going to get it together after week one. I feel, but St. Louis is just going to come out hot. They want to prove something this year. We get to San Antonio and Arlington.
do you have a score for that game?
Uh, let's see. Can I come up with something off the top of my head? We'll go. I don't know. Let's go like 29-12.
Okay. All right.
Could be. I guess that'd be. Yeah, it's still 2 scores because of the 3-point conversions.
Yeah, I like it though. Go keep continue.
Yep, yep. We got San Antonio at Arlington. I think this one's going to get real close. I'm going to say that Arlington's defense carries them to the win with at least one defensive touchdown. I think they win 20-18 over San Antonio at home.
Hmm.
Michigan at Memphis. It's another one of those games where we just don't really know what's going to happen with Memphis compared to last season. When you look at the standings or the mock standings with every single person, you kind of have Houston and Memphis below everyone else. And until I'm proven otherwise, I'm going to go with Michigan here over Memphis, even though Memphis is at home. And I'm going to say the score is going to be 25-21 Michigan. And now here's where it gets fun. We got Birmingham and DC. And I know you're not going to like it when I say this, but I do think DC is going to beat Birmingham week 1, even with a different head coach. I know that's a bold take. But I have a feeling not that Birmingham's just going to lose. I think they're going to lose the first 2 games of the season. That's my hot take on the year. They're going to start off 0-2 and they're going to end 8-2. So
Hey,
I'm saying
I mean-
DC beats Birmingham in a high-scoring 37-35 game.
Oh, okay. Well, at least it's close. So you guys can
I can honestly kind of respect it. I can
Okay.
kind of respect it. I mean, it could be possible that Shane Harris just absolutely blows everyone's expectations away. I mean, there were some people that were critical about Barlow's job and that Greg Williams and the defense and Abram Smith really carried them to that XFL championship and thinking that, oh, Barlow just stood there. He didn't do anything. And just, so, I mean, I could see it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know who didn't carry them to a championship? Jordan Teamu. He didn't do that. Game
I mean,
manager quarterback.
You're not
Yeah,
wrong.
So
Yeah, no.
so
You're not wrong.
so just
Yeah,
for
no.
just a little recap. So you have St. Louis winning, you have Michigan winning, you have Arlington winning, or yeah, you have the Renegades winning, and then you have DC winning.
Correct.
All right.
Now, hear this. Imagine if week 1, Case Cookis comes out and gets the start in Birmingham.
I think it's
Just imagine
at
that.
this point. I think it's highly doubtful, but I will be surprised just as you if I see it.
It would be
I'm just
pretty
saying,
fun.
just imagine it.
It'd be pretty funny if DC wins and then you have a QB change immediately after.
Oh,
I think-
you see that?
I
Rob?
think everything is there for Birmingham to get a little too comfortable. I mean, with the head coach change, with a 3-peat at this point,
Mhm.
you might start off a little sleepy and then get your teeth bashed in week 1 and be like, oh shoot, we gotta get right to it, and then everything's gonna fix just like that. That's just the Birmingham way.
No, Birmingham dominates the first few weeks, and then they go through this they don't score and they don't win. Well, they win sometimes, they don't win sometimes, and then they just don't lose from then on. It's annoying, but
No, I'm sure.
So I just realized how poorly I structured this prediction page, but just because we have the 8 teams, but then we still have an
yeah.
overlap between, I don't know, maybe Ra, if you can find another way to structure it, because we still have
I'll-
time for the season. But
I'll do that later.
Okay,
Not this.
we'll go ahead. We won't have to use we don't have to use the system, but if you guys want to write them down,
like we
maybe
did last year.
yeah, like we did last year. Yeah. So, Ralph or Diego, I want either one of you guys to continue us on here before I voice my predictions.
I can start off.
All right.
Let me just find the share screen of. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, if you want to use the screen,
Alrighty.
then you can. That's totally fine.
Okay, but you guys can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's my predictions for week 1. Starting off with the St. Louis Battlehawks at Houston. And I think, while we were recording this, I was kind of going back and forth about my prediction because I don't know. I know that, I feel like that CJ Johnson is going to obviously want to start the season off very strong, but at the same time, I feel like even so, I think that in this prediction, I think that the Bellhawks will beat Houston 31-20. I think that it will be a closely contested first half. Uh, Houston strikes blood a bit. Bellhawks do a bit too, but all in all, I think one thing I see is just both of the defenses dominating. I do think the offenses struggle a bit. I know a lot of people are high on Max Duggan, but at the same time, I feel like that he does kind of have a bit of a mediocre start, but then he kind of gets into sync a bit. But that's my prediction. And then going on for Arlington versus San Antonio. I have Arlington beating San Antonio 17-22. I do think that Arlington will have a strong game. I think that, Luis Perez, come on now. He's the king of spring. Can't go against it. So I think he will have a pretty strong outing. Um, and then going into Michigan at Memphis, I have Michigan winning a close one against the Showboats, 24-19. I think that Bryce Perkins does end up getting the start. Um, that this offense does have a great performance. COC Mariner, I think I could see him having a pretty good game. But even with this loss, I think the Showboats will still put on a pretty good performance. And then the final game Sunday at 2 p.m. on ESPN. Stallions at Defenders. Now, Dom, I know you're gonna disagree with me on this, but I have the Stallions beating you guys in a high scoring game, 35-24. I think you guys will put on a great performance. I think Jordan Tamu will kind of start looking back into his 2023 form, a little less of 2024. Um, Abram Smith, I think he'll have working back into the starting role, seeing all those reps. But that's my predictions for week one.
Crazy, we're already here, man. I mean, every year we talk about how long the off season is, and we look after the Super Bowl, but it's crazy. We're only a week away. I think we've come such a long way with these better rosters and these changes and new marketing efforts. But Raf, let's hear it, bud.
All right, so last year, as we all know, I went based off feeling on my predictions, not based on how I felt about the team, but how I felt about no, how I felt about the team. So this year we're going something similar, but St. Louis, I could see an upset. I'm not gonna say anything because new quarterback, Anthony Brown or Nolan Henderson. I think CJ does like to do his two quarterback rotation. Give me Houston in a 32-25 upset win, but I don't think that anything like else will come out of Houston this season. Arlington gets the win because it's Perez, and yes, last year it was bad, but like not on him. Next, we're gonna go to Memphis because I don't know why it's structured like this, but give me Memphis winning 18-7 over Michigan. I don't feel that quarterback Bryce Perkins is really gonna elevate anything crazy so far. So far, besides they still haven't announced anybody. They still like to run two quarterbacks. It's common. And give me a Birmingham win 23-20. The hard fought uh, close game in memory of Coach Reggie Barlow, but it's not enough. It's uh, it's not enough.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go ahead, finalize mine. I think I definitely think these are going to be interesting. Week one is always exciting. It's always cool to see these players play, just being back out there, and it'll be. I think though. I think all these teams will endure some growing pains this opening week, and I mean obviously we have 10 weeks. It's a good bit of time, but you hope that things can really start clicking kind of by maybe the third week, just because we are shorter, significantly shorter than an NFL season. So, but without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. These are my predictions for the opening weekend. Let's see here. Let me go back. All right. So these are my predictions. I think a little bit similar to you guys's, but um, you guys see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So first game of the weekend, we got St. Louis. We got Houston. Um, we got St. Louis at Houston. I do have St. Louis coming out in that one. A little bit higher scoring affair with 31 points to Houston's 17. I think that offense is going to be tough to stop, but you add in the fact that the Roughnecks don't have that much of a high powered offense, so it's going to only make it harder for them to score as many points and keep up. So I think they might fall behind in that one early, but if not, I think St. Louis could come out to a second half surge and really take over. So but then yeah, and then after that we have San Antonio at Arlington. I have Arlington coming out in that one, 21-16, a little bit closer. And I mean, I think Arlington's going to do well. I think Diego kind of hit the nail on the head with Luis Perez and kind of what he adds always to any offense. So I think he's going to kind of be right where he left off last year and have a productive day for throwing. And I do plan on Raf. I know you're in my UFL fantasy draft tomorrow, so I'm not going to say anything. But
Ooh, I'm so excited.
but
I'm backing Kirk
I
Merritt.
did
I'm
have
backing Kirk Merritt.
I'm so upset because in the old league that he had us have, I had the first overall pick, and now I haven't checked. So,
Um,
but if I still have it, you know, just I'll leave it right there. So
you, we should do some sit and stardoms, some sit 'em and stardoms for UFL
sit him
guys.
and start him. That would be good, actually. I like
No,
that.
can
I haven't
I
thought about that.
can
That's good. Okay, but
yeah.
yeah, going on here. So DC versus Birmingham, a little bit
Mm.
closer than I think that most are thinking. I got 27-19 Birmingham coming out on top. I think DC can put some points on the board. Given that every side of the ball this week's going to be a little bit uncertain. No one's gonna really figure out everything right away. So I think they'll be able to put some points up on the board and keep it a little bit close. But I think ultimately it'll be a one touchdown differential. So, and then the final game, or sorry, I kind of went out of chronological order, but Michigan at Memphis. I have Memphis winning 18-15 in a lower scoring affair, but I think Memphis will do just enough. I don't think it's going to be by way of a game-winning field goal, but I think that it might be like they're down by a field goal, and they're going to end up scoring instead of settling for three, just because they don't want to take it to overtime and have to go through that. So those are my opinions. Those are my predictions. Um, but we got a couple more things here before we wrap it up. Um, so yeah,
Just a
go ahead.
little side note.
Yeah,
Um,
let me stop you.
for week one, I kind of saw this a bit on the UFO Reddit and a little research on my own, but rain could play a factor into some of these games, especially in both Houston and Memphis. So the run game could be incorporated a bit and could really impact in how some of these games will be predicted and how they'll be played. So just wanted to bring that up really quick.
I think that's very important. With these teams. I mean, you said Memphis and what was the other one?
Houston.
Oh, Houston. Yeah. So I mean, again, a little bit more of I mean, still, those are really good teams. I think they're gonna try to balance it, but I think they will favor run game a little bit more, like you said. So yeah, I think that's very worth noting for this opening week. I mean, especially it kind of adds on to having to learn a new offense and everything. So, but yeah, we can go ahead and dedicate this last couple minutes here for any hot takes or bold predictions or maybe where do you guys kind of see these teams? What do you guys see for these teams this season? What are some realistic goals you have or maybe it's your own team that you're a fan of, or maybe it's a hot take, around the league, or maybe for an individual player. Really just this time is for any of those things. So
Yeah, I will start off and I'll say one breakout player. It's always one. There's always a trend you can see whenever somebody breaks out. Well, there's a trend for a certain running back in Arlington named Day Hunter. He got a majority of the RB1 reps. They just brought Devion Smith back, and he was one of two that stuck when they got cut. And it's between a power back, Kalen Balazs. So I'm talking fantasy here, though, but high volume receptions could be coming his way throughout the season because, hey, with it, Devion Smith would catch passes. He caught a lot. He caught a few handful of passes. When you got somebody who's shifting in the backfield and can run, that's it's a pretty big name to watch out for. So yeah,
Yeah, I know. These run games. We've seen a lot of really good run games in these leagues, and I know it's only going to be as important as it has been this season for some of these teams. I know. The old the style of the new generation of football is, oh, let's throw it for 40 attempts a game, 400 yards, but a lot of these teams really want to get that run game going, and for a lot of them it's really been successful. So I think it's great that you have a goal for running back and a hot take, that they're going to produce well. So, but Dom or Diego, you guys have any hot takes, both predictions?
Be my guest. You can go first.
I don't know if he has anything.
That's okay. We can wait.
No, I'm still looking right now.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
All right.
still thinking.
Fine.
Yeah, go ahead,
Fine.
Dom.
All right. I think this year is going to be way more defensive than offensive when it comes to the UFL as a whole. I'm saying that the sack record is going to get broken this year again.
Mm.
So that means one player for the first time in UFL history is going to get 10 plus sacks on the season, breaking Speaks' 9.5.
breaking speeds 9.5.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. Because I'd love to see that. The common misconception among football fans is, oh, we don't like defense. We want a high scoring game. We want high scoring teams. Like high scoring games in a season. Well, I don't think that's fair, because defense works as hard as an offense, and when they're doing well, it really is fun to watch. Whether that's flying around the quarterback, or whether that's acrobatic, swats and interceptions, and just different things things of that nature that really stand out when you look at a defense. So I definitely agree with that. I think it could be more of a defensive season, and as a result, could lead to more defensive players being looked at than offense players, like come next NFL cycle. So, but
Yeah. Well, and while we're at it, we're going to show some special teams love too. I'm saying there's going to be at least 3 return touchdowns this season versus the one that happened last year. With the new system they implemented, going back to their previous ways, I think I wouldn't even surprise me if a single player has multiple return touchdowns on the year, whether it's punt return, kick return. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, you and your boy Chris Rowland.
Chris Rowland,
yeah.
Rolling,
Yeah,
rolling,
funny
rolling.
story. Funny story. I remember one time I had seen of course, XFL analyst. Shout out Michael Del Negro, because he's the guy. But you had commented something about how like Chris Rowland gets 3 touchdowns.
They get 3 return touchdowns in the season.
3 return touchdowns, and I said $100, and then you go
I'm
even
like, how about
better.
a shout out?
And then y'all shout out their page, and I was like, bro.
I'm like I can make hot takes, but that's
That's
real spicy, man.
real spicy. So
no,
yeah, I
I
thought I'd bring that up. Yeah,
I think what I wanted to ask you guys about. Do you think we'll see the same, would you say we'll see like 2 to 3 starters for this following NFL cycle from special teams? Cuz we saw Jake Bates this following season. We saw we've seen Dan Whalen, who's very underspoken about, by the way. I know
Dan Whalen has been very underspoken.
yeah, I think yeah, he's great in the NFL. So, so Dan Whalen, Jake Bates, John Parker Romo this past season. So do you guys kind of see that trend carrying over here in this next season? Maybe more starters.
I mean, I'm gonna say this one. We're like so close. Like if Max Duggan puts together a season, he can be an NFL backup like Adrian Martinez.
Yeah.
I don't think we see a special team because, I mean, Andre Schmidt. We also forgot to forget the fact he's a kicker with the Browns now as well. So
and then Rex Sunahara, the new long snapper
And
too.
then Mitch Fraboni. Mitch Fraboni of the Denver Broncos. I think re-signed
Pepperoni.
this year. Long snapper. I think he played for. Who did he play
I don't
for?
know.
He
I don't
played.
know.
He played for somebody, but he's back there, and yeah. I mean, we have a handful of players. So I mean, but those are just some examples of guys that have made impacts on their team. So, um, Diego, yeah,
To
go ahead.
to add on right before I get into like my side of the hot takes, I think that we could see guys like Stallions long snapper Ryan Langan get a look by NFL teams. He's one of the OGs since 2022. He's always been a solid guy, always gets a nice decent amount of posts, even if it's just for like in season training before games. But I think he's one guy that could get a look. And I'm gonna be honest. I think that uh Donald Delahaye is gonna end up having an average season. I mean, he'll probably get like maybe one attempt from 60, but I don't know if we're gonna get like some in like a Jake Bates season. I think maybe guys like Chris Blewett before JJ Molson returns for Houston. I think he could pull it off probably. I know he had a 59-yard attempt with the Pittsburgh Maulers in 2023.
Mhm.
But those are a few hot takes right now for special teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we could actually see players return back to the NFL as well. We could see Jacob Sailors get back to the NFL. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Jacob Sailor spent time with the Cleveland Browns after getting cut by the Giants. So, okay, yeah, you're a Browns fan, you know that.
Yeah.
Browns fan over here knows that one. Um,
I
you know,
see a
Jacob
common
Sailor's
trend with everybody.
Jacob's yeah, okay, let's come. Yeah, Jacob Sailors can come back to the NFL. Matt Corral can. No, I'm probably not. I didn't know. I was expecting him to be even back here, but Corral could get back to the NFL. So it could be common to see some of these guys get back into the NFL rather than yeah.
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
think for my hot takes, I think just looking across these teams, I think you're gonna have possibly weaker, a slower season for quarterbacks, just in terms of generality, but kind of adding onto the lines of better defensive season. I think wide receivers are gonna have productive season, but it's not. I don't think it's gonna be like a star-studded performance unless every week, unless it's one of the top, premier guys. I think it's going to be more balanced, and I think it's going to be like, five receptions for one guy, five receptions for another, and then maybe like two to the tight end or something. So I don't think it's going to be like somebody's going to get force fed. I think it's going to be more balanced in terms of an offense. I mean, every offense is different. Like for like an offense like Birmingham, I think it's definitely more balanced and not so much so, force feed one guy. And but for like for St. Louis, they kind of have to do that where they balance it because they have so much talent on the outside. So, um, I mean, so that's just something I wanted to add. And I know we'll definitely be looking at how these guys do. And it's to add just one more thing, we've had so much great marketing efforts by the social media pages this off season, and now for Donald Delahaye to have the starting job going into the season, that we know that. I think it's only gonna add on and only be better for us. Especially if he hits 60, if he makes any field goal, because we didn't see that previously. I think the majors like Bleacher and ESPN and NFL on ESPN, like all those pages are gonna put a post out about him, and that's only gonna create more exposure. So, but yeah, that's just something I wanted to add. If you guys have anything else, would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Um I think this kind of goes a little further from like a player performance, but I could absolutely see the uh week 10 just absolutely being bananas on the USFL division. I think that both Memphis and Houston are gonna absolutely just fight for the playoffs. I could see maybe like a 4-6 or like a 5-5 scenario where it gets really close in who ends up gaining the second place in the division. I don't think it's just going to be a lock for Michigan as we saw last season. I think that these guys are going to really get in sync. they want to get into the playoffs, and so I think it could really go either way. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably gonna catch some slanders from some of my side of the fan base, but I honestly don't know if we're gonna be in first place again. I don't know. It could. It's gonna be wild. I think that it's gonna be probably one of the best seasons in spring football. I mean, a lot of these coaches have been here for a long time, including Bob Stoops, Skip Holtz, obviously. So all in all, I'm just ready for football. I'm just really just prepared for the season to kick off.
Yeah, I was gonna say Davion Davis enthusiast might be mad at your take.
Yeah, no, but that just goes to show, like we've been talking about it this whole episode, that the talent is really, off the charts this season in terms of spring football. So, you know, no one's set for anything. Like no one's, day one, gonna be first place. No one's day one gonna, come out be 10-0 or start right where they left off last year. It's gonna take time to get, growing in the offense or defense or special teams or whatever the case is, and a lot of that is going to be the coaches learning their new roles, and because a lot of these coaching staffs we've talked about in previous episodes are different than what they have been. So I mean it's not only going to be different for the players, but it's also going to be different for the coaches. So
We gotta just need to make sure that it's not like last year where the playoff teams are decided by week 8 and we're just sitting around for 2 weeks. That was
yeah,
Exactly.
horrendous.
yeah,
And another thing too is that there's those conflicts at Ford Field, I think, to where I don't know if they were supposed to host like the first playoff game, but we saw week 10, the first game it was being played in Birmingham, and then after it was already unlocked, week 10 was basically pointless, and then come playoffs, it's in Birmingham again. So
Back to back
Yeah.
matchup.
it's almost like a preseason game, but then now you're actually playing for the real thing.
Yeah, I know. But honestly, I kind of enjoyed that 1-9 matchup between Houston and Memphis, to where I actually just ended up getting drunk with my one of my friends watching that.
bro.
So that was only one game I did that, and he never watched the UFL, and he's like, "Bro, this Darius Victor guy, he's huge," and I was like, "Yeah, Victor's pretty big."
Yeah.
He was,
So yeah, I mean, I think we had a great time here on this episode. We're only that much closer to the start. We've got games Friday. Kind of a full slate here of games. And Raf, you got something?
that's 5 days away.
5 days away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't be fooled by my background. I don't think we have a 5 day graphic, so hence why I don't have it up. But no, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited just as much as you guys are. I know the whole UFL fan base is, and and I think it's going to be a great time, and hopefully we can get out to a game. Whether that's together, individually, or whatever the case is. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great time, and definitely check out this opening weekend. Game Friday, prime time. Under the lights, and then we've got game Saturday, and then we've got games on Sunday as well. So really a full weekend ahead, and I know whether you're a new fan or whether you're a returning fan, I think you're gonna enjoy it as much as you would a regular NFL game or any other level of football that you watch. So, but if you guys don't have anything else, we can go ahead and wrap it up here.
Now
DC
that's
and
it.
4. DC and 4.
DC and four. All right, love to go out on that. All right, so it was great
Yeah, me
having
too.
you guys, Diego and Raf, as always, and then Dom. Thanks for coming on the show with us tonight, and
Hmm.
we'll definitely be in touch throughout the season.
Definitely.
It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Man, my camera's so pixely.
All right,
All right, take care.
nice. Take care, guys.
All right.